My name's Stephanie. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I write those meals down. I commit them to my sponsor before I eat them. I don't eat in between no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing without exception. My abstinence date is April 12th, 2001. And for that, I'm truly grateful. Last time I felt really bad at another meeting because I just went on and on about what it was like before. And so I really didn't want to do that today and wanted to make sure that I got into the good stuff. So I made a little cheat sheet, try to keep that simple. So a couple things I remember that when I was growing up, I remember being told I had thunder thighs. And there was a gymnast back then who had big thighs, and I was often compared to her, although I got bigger than her. And my first job was at a roller skating rink. And I remember being told that I would have made the speed team if I didn't eat all the food in the snack bar. And so I really struggled with that growing up. And really, I made food my higher power. And that was pretty much my coping mechanism. And like all of you, it was my friend, my companion when no one was there. And I became dependent on it at an early age and really used it to anesthetize my feelings. I didn't know how to cope with things. And as I got older and still eating, people were only obstacles in my way to getting the food. I didn't know how to have friendships with people. I really didn't have any good social skills. I remember a girl told me you need to chew with your mouth closed. I really just didn't have any, etiquette or whatever. And I think my mother was really ashamed of me. It was just she seemed really embarrassed by me because she did not have a weight problem, but she did try to help me. And they took me to the diet center. She, tried every diet that was in these magazines she got. But I think she was just really baffled by it. And in her mind, it was all about gluttony. And the people that were overweight were on my dad's side of my family. So I don't know if she thought it was genetic, but I persuaded myself, that it was genetic, that, I would tease myself that I came from a long line of short, fat farmers with big white teeth, and that, I really thought it was genetic. And growing up, I thought, I wanted to blame her. I wanted to blame society. I really thought I was powerless over weight, but not the food. And I really had to come to terms with that I was powerless over food, that my life was unmanageable. And, even if I circumvented the weight problem with purging or trying to exercise or starve for a few days or chronic dieting, yo-yo dieting, that really it's the food that even at a normal weight for a nanosecond, I really still struggle with the food and never got rid of that chatter in my head. I got clean and sober when I was 18 in 1988. And at one of those meetings, I saw a woman finishing her lunch, and it looked extremely healthy, but abundant. And I asked her, what are you doing? And because how we are back then, it's like my radar was out for diet billboards, any solution, any quick fix. And I thought, and I noticed she was losing a lot of weight and, seemed really cheerful. And she took me to my first gray sheet meeting. And back then it was an OA meeting, but it was everything I heard in there was gray sheet. That's all I heard. That was a strong message. And for 12 years after that, I struggled in and out. For some years, I completely blocked gray sheet out of my mind and I vilified it. I wanted to, I projected onto them that a sponsor wanted to control me. I think I had a lot of authoritarian issues growing up. I, wanted this to be a feminist issue. I wanted to practice fat acceptance. And I bought a lot of self-help books and read them. And I noticed I was really interested in the 98% of the book that was about the problem, but I couldn't get into the solution. And for some reason, the solution that was offered was cognitive behavioral therapy, things I've tried, psychotherapy, group therapy, being in a mental hospital, uh, just all kinds of, mental and physical things. I tried to work the steps hard enough to get abstinent or to find peace with food. And none of those things worked. And I saw in this program that there are people that are extremely religious and spiritual, and they too told me that they could not get recovery that way alone, that just didn't work, that step 0 is put down the food, and once they did that, they were able to find peace. But for me, I noticed that the struggle for me was that serendipitous moment where I was desperate enough and yet had the hope again, and had the message, I was reminded of the message, because I really wanted to not, this was the last house on the block, and I really wanted to find an easier, softer way. And, subsequently tried other food plans that had a few items on there that I was used to eating. And even the pseudo healthy starchy vegetables would lead me right back to XXX food. So that, I have an allergy to sugars and man-made carbs. And whenever I ingest those, I end up back in, the down and dirty stuff that I swear off. And so finally, about 10 years after I met this woman, I saw her again at the cafeteria at this large state building where I worked. And she had that abstinent glow, and she looked, a normal weight and happy. And I asked her what she was doing, and sure enough, she was doing GreySheet. And I remember back, I was so arrogant before when I had first met her. She had a few, weeks less than me, the decade earlier. And I thought, boy, this girl's kind of airhead, she's not going to get this. And she had stayed abstinent that whole time. She did it. And, I thought I was going to do it. And I could not get more than 62 days for those 12 years. And my husband and I tried to get abstinent together a few times. And finally, at 31, I had irritable bowel syndrome. I had type 2 diabetes. I was going to have to take insulin, and 75 pounds overweight. And I, came home and I said, I've got to try that GreySheet thing one more time. I'm going to go to the meeting in the morning and start. And we went to the grocery store, and, I even told him, I said, you do whatever you want to, and, but I've got to do this. Because what I would do is, as soon as I stopped, I would, throw away the GreySheet, get rid of the scale, have the food rotting in the fridge, and go right back to, boxes and bins and purgatory, just being miserable and suicidal and not knowing what else to do. So I finally tried it that one more time, and I figured I better, get a sponsor, go to meetings on time, stay at the end, meet people and really get involved as much as I could without, any ability to serve. And, so I, showed up and set up what I could, and, offered to read and talk to people and made outreach calls. And that made the biggest difference, because before I hadn't done that, not being a people person. Before that, all my friends were eating buddies. And so, I built my life around food, and y'all told me I really need to fit my life around abstinence. And so that's what I had to do. I had to make that adjustment. And in the beginning, it was extremely difficult, but, y'all keep offering hope to me. Before it was, I was eating unconsciously, and I was, introduced to the concept of conscious eating, where a meal is a sacred time, where I sit down, it's 3 meals a day, distinct. I'm not eating in my car or eating standing up. I'm not having an emotional conversation with somebody or anything that, could get me upset. It needs to be a quiet time where I can enjoy my food. And that was something that I had never experienced before, joyful eating and guilt-free eating. That was just unbelievable to me, that I could feel, enjoy my food and not feel ashamed of it. And, but the hardest thing in the beginning, if there are any newcomers, I wanted to try to express the concept where, I was terrified that I couldn't do this forever, that there was going to be, I catastrophized a lot. And there was this imbalance. Like as soon as I would get abstinent, these relationships I had with people would be all out of whack because I was no longer going to fellowship after an AA meeting or something. I wasn't, like in holidays, I wasn't binging with my dad or, doing these things. And so like he said, you can't do that forever. And, you weren't that fat anyway, and things like that, where it upsets this balance with people. And I needed to get used to a new equilibrium. I needed to learn how to set boundaries. I needed to not let them, because I'm also codependent, not let them talk me into eating. They're not going to hold me down and force feed me, but I was codependent and I would let them talk me into eating. I would go eat over these things where, friends and family, they think this is another diet and they want me to get to the inevitable, get off that diet so you're anesthetized again. They wanted that what they were used to. They wanted me to feel comfortable and whatever their comfort level is. And so I think it's really hard if we have roommates or friends or spouses that aren't doing what we're doing. This could be very upsetting. And some friends, I observed some sabotage behavior, or at work, saying, what are you eating? So all these things where I had trouble staying abstinent, I really needed to get over that and learn how to get a thick skin. And there was some slogan about, wearing a suit of armor I can't remember what it is, but, for my inside to heal. And that's what I had to do. I had to get over that discomfort of asking for what I needed or turning down what they offered for my birthday at the office. And what was neat is after I started practicing that, people stopped offering. And so that was neat. They were starting to respect those boundaries. And that's what I found out was, like, even close friends and family, they will eventually respect that boundary when they see that they can't persuade me to stop doing it. And in fact, it's helping me, be more attentive and more intimate and more present. But that awkward, that roller coaster ride is what we really have to get through in the beginning. And that's the most fragile time. The detox, the having to lose weight, that is a stressful time. But once I get over that, I believe for me, it's easier for me to stay abstinent than to get abstinent. And so I really don't want to go through that again, that misery of detox and changing, playgrounds and playthings, changing my behavior around food. Once I got that comfort zone where it becomes a habit and it becomes routine, where I'm no longer feeling inconvenienced, because the minor inconvenience of staying abstinent and planning and preparing and protecting is nothing compared to the shame of carrying the weight or becoming disabled. Literally, there are family members who've had both their legs amputated, and that would be my legacy. The shame of waking up and my work clothes don't fit anymore, lying to people about what I ate. That's the real inconvenience that abstinence treats that. And so I need to get over my impatience about, getting temperamental about having to prepare and protect my abstinence. So that's something I really had to grow up about, because I'm impatient and frustrated, and I, wanted instant gratification. I had to learn to invest time in preparing my meals. So I followed suggestions given, like, don't go shopping when you're hungry. Prepare enough meals in advance where when your meal time is there, I'm not having to prepare my meal. Things like, I'm trying to think what else. Sloshing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but in between meals, the heat here in Texas, I really would want to go binge on something. And it was suggested that in between meals, have as much abstinent beverages as you want. And so, you could put it in a blender, you could do, whatever, and just have it available all the time. And that really helped me in the beginning, because I like to feel full. And I would also I would think when I was thirsty, I thought I was hungry. but that's not always true. Most of the time I was just thirsty, and that would really help. I can't make any independent food decisions. And,
15. Sorry,
that's
Steph.
15 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'll wrap it up. Things like, I wanted to fix myself. I didn't want to ask for help because I thought that was weak. And I thought that if I did ask for help, that people would think I must be lazy. I must not have worked hard enough to do it. And I really had to get over that ego of wanting to do it on my own. And I just really had to ask for help and follow your suggestions. And, that has saved my life over the years. I'm so grateful that, crazy things happen in abstinence, but they don't all happen at once. And when they do happen, I can ask for help from y'all and figure out what to do if I drop my food on the floor. Or one time I ate my salad and a stink bug squirted in my mouth. And I gotta, am I getting poisoned? So there's always an option for this, if you get sick or you're in the hospital, whatever, y'all taught me how to deal with this. And no is the complete sentence. So now, when they pass the XXX, it's like, no, thank you. No, I don't have to worry about the coaxing or cajoling. And now people respect my boundaries. When I start, following that intuitive thing about protecting myself, they know that I'm not doubtful, and so they're not trying to sabotage. And it's just a blessing to me how much this program has changed the inside too. Having better relationships, especially with women, and being able to trust other women and open to be vulnerable. That was really hard for me, and y'all loved me until I could love myself, and help me with that to trust the process, and trust that if it worked for you, it could work for me. And when you extended that faith, that's what I hung on to for the longest time until I could see it working. And I'm just really grateful to all of you for being here and paving the way. Thanks.